And talk to Hussein Ibish, Senior Fellow at the American Task Force on Palestine. Hussein, thanks so much for joining us. The UN meeting has ended without a resolution. What, in your opinion, needed to be done to achieve one?
Well, I think at least a little bit more international pressure calling for an immediate ceasefire. And if not a ceasefire, then certainly major intervention on the humanitarian front. I mean, I think you've got immediately major humanitarian needs in Gaza above and beyond the violence, which would be addressed by a ceasefire. You've got what is a very serious looming shortage of fuel, medicine, and food for the civilians of Gaza. And then you've got the question of the ceasefire. And what's needed for a ceasefire is not only international pressure, but also, I think, an understanding by the two parties that really this violence is not actually benefiting them, that this is completely a dead end, and that both Israel and Hamas were actually better off during the ceasefire that expired last week, and that unfortunately Hamas refused to discuss extending. A big mistake, in my opinion.
Why did they not discuss it further? This was crucial. Why did they not wait?
Yeah, I think you have to ask them. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially at this stage, are really shaking their heads and wondering. They can't possibly really have been surprised by the Israeli reaction. I think many of us have been predicting that eventually Israel was going to retaliate and react with disproportionate force if this tension in Gaza continued. And there were a lot of forces, Arab states, the PA, and others who were essentially begging Hamas to find a way to extend the truce. You could be cynical and say, well, maybe they wanted, for some reason or another, some political reason, to get into a confrontation, and perhaps they bit off more than they can chew. But in the end, only they really know. It's very hard to say. But that it was a mistake, I think, is patently clear from the Hamas and Palestinian point of view right now. I think it'll become clearer and clearer as time goes on that perhaps this was not a wise course for Israel either, even if it might seem to have political benefits for some individual politicians.
So what, in your opinion, should both parties do now, then?
Well, I think you have to really look for a way to climb down as soon as possible. I don't think there's any chance of that, though, because I think the Israelis have yet to feel that any part of this plan has gone wrong, in a sense. I mean, they haven't, I don't think, come up in front of any unanticipated obstacles. And as long as that happens, and I don't foresee exactly when, I mean, there are always unintended consequences and the unexpected, but I don't quite see it happening in the coming days. And until that happens, it's likely that the Israelis will persist. So under such circumstances, it is probably up to international pressure. It's likely that even though we desperately need, on humanitarian grounds and moral grounds, a ceasefire, we're probably not going to get it. And the Israelis are probably going to persist. And in all likelihood, I would say, even possibly tomorrow, we might see a ground element start to be introduced.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Hussein Ibish, Senior Fellow at the American Task Force on Palestine. Thanks for joining us from Washington.
Thank you very much.